you as a brand owner, you either have to spend money or time.
Like if you can work an iPhone, you can create a Shopify store very, very quickly.
They don't know that they need it. They don't know that they need variation in the ad account. They don't know that.
We're seeing Floyd Mayweather, Tyson Fury, Tommy Fury, Harry Kane.
It's reputation. It's basically time in the game. It's like, when was it not? When was the ad not important? Everyone got.
Hello and welcome back to the StoreHero podcast. This week we're joined by Paul Kennedy, founder of Lifelike Media. We're discussing all things creatives, BFCM, top ad creatives for 2025, top predictions, following the Furies around Thailand, working with the likes of Harry Kane, and all that goes with that. I think you're going to really, really enjoy this one. Paul, welcome to the show. How are you getting on?
I'm doing well. Thanks very much for having me. How are you?
Oh, good, Paul. Can't complain. We've been trying to get this one in the books for quite a while. I think you cancelled on me a week or two ago. You were over in, where was it?
Well, last week I was in Palma. Yeah, I did cancel on you a few times. I feel bad for that. Fridays have been hectic. I was on a golf stag.
Very good. And you were on an interesting shoot, I believe, as well. I saw it on your Instagram there 2 days ago, so you can publicly talk about it.
Yeah, Eddie Hall, world's strongest man. I mean, the story, I pulled out of it personally last minute, but the team still went. I just couldn't. I didn't have the bandwidth to then go to Manchester, fly home at 1 a.m. and then go to Palma at 7 a.m. the next day. So I actually pulled out personally, but the team went. Like, our team is elite. I don't really need to be there. There's no value from me on shoot anymore. So they had a great time. It was one of them ones where, when you have some crazy ideas, like that caption says that you're showing, when the content ideas make it out of the group chat, like some of our ideas were so left field that we didn't think they would get cleared, and we just got a yes on every single one. Do what you want. So as you can see, he's in budgie smugglers, he's in a sauna. There's a few things that haven't been released that involve his tank and a small car. So yeah, this is a pretty wild shoot.
How do you think about how do you put a script together for a content shoot like that? I have no context on this whatsoever, but how do you come up with those ideas? Because they are out there. For the guy that he is, to think of putting him in budgie smugglers in a sauna, where do those ideas come from?
So in this room that I'm in now is like a breakaway room at our studio. So one of the benefits of the way we've set up our agency is that we're all together here in one building. So we literally pour some coffee, sit at that table, and we have our phones. We're kind of scrolling trending content. We're coming up with ideas that are, tried and tested. Like, we did this for, the Lumi guys. It was really successful. Let's just do it again for these guys. We did this. It was good. And that's like, your basics, your 80%. 80% of what we do, we already know works, and it's the safe stuff. It's just a different face. It's just a different product. But there is that 20% of, we call them wild cards or half-baked ideas. And the half-baked ideas are just like, whenever a branch just goes off and it's like, oh, you could do that. Oh, yeah, and then that, and then that. And then, oh, yeah, but also, why don't we just put them in budgie smugglers? And, it just gets out of hand. And then we just write it down anyway. We have a doc. It's usually Jack Hanna just like putting everything into this doc, and we're all sitting there. We essentially package that up and send our ideas to the client. Now, in this particular instance, the client is the Beard Struggle and the ambassador is Eddie Hall. And we just, like, knowing what those guys are like, we didn't feel they were going to get too many no's. Like, they're kind of up for it. And the reason that they hire us and the reason that they fly us from Belfast, to Manchester or Liverpool or wherever, is because they just trust that what we come up with is probably going to be, like, good quality, but also might work. And they're hiring an expert. They're not saying, oh, you come and do it, but do everything that we say and everything that we want to do, because in that case, why would you may as well just get a videographer locally and use them and give them a brief. So a lot of the time clients are buying our brief, they're buying our ideas. And yeah, we got a lot of yeses in that particular shoot.
Nice. Very interesting. Just maybe for the benefit of our listeners, do you want to just give us a quick high-level overview in terms of Lifelike and what you guys actually do?
Yeah, sure. So we are the creative agency for e-com and paid media. Like, when you're scrolling your phone, you're scrolling TikTok, Meta, and you're seeing these ads, you're seeing UGC, you're seeing statics, even brand style, professional, like hi-fi videos. We're the agency behind a lot of those. So Um, we're totally focused on econ growth. We're not just, let's say, artists who like to make something beautiful. We actually want to have an impact. So it's direct response. The goal is, reduce CPA, increase revenue profitably, allow brands to spend more on the platforms by way of us finding winning concepts. So we might test a whole bunch of different angles. We'll find something that wins, and then we'll iterate on those winners to continually find more and more winning ads that then the media buyers can consistently, improve upon with their media buying tactics as it is. But I don't know if there's too many tactics left beyond great ads.
Yeah, I can completely resonate with that. How long are you guys in operation, Paul?
We are just turned 5 years in August. So in the entity that it is right now, 5 years. But I've been in this game 10 years actually now. Might not look it, but 10 years, decade.
Interesting. Paul, we've some very interesting shots on the screen in front of us here. For any of our listeners on Spotify, we're kind of sharing the screen right now, but we're seeing Floyd Mayweather, Tyson Fury, Tommy Fury, Harry Kane, Phil Foden. I mean, the who's who of British sports and the celebrity world in general. How long or how do you get in contact with these people, or how long does it take to build up a reputation good enough to work with these kinds of brands? Obviously, we can see other major logos here in front of us as well: Lumi, London Nootropics, Tranquility, Lamborghini. Quite an eclectic mix.
Yeah, it's exactly that. It's reputation. It's basically time in the game. We do something really specific. It's creative for paid media. And let's take an example like the Floyd Mayweather. You're not landing him from a piece of outbound or an
Nope.
ad. The way that came about is we were running the paid ads and the content for the influencer boxing events. Pretty niche. We basically found ourselves in there for a contact. So we shot the content, like not even just shot it, we also arranged it, wrote briefs, built narratives between boxers like Salt Pappy and these other guys like Jarvis. These are the guys in that world. We built these like narratives and we ran them on TikTok. And it was really, really successful. And we were scaling TikTok ads. At one point, we were at 20K a day because we were selling a pay per view. There was no stock, no nothing. It was 100% margin. So I think we had a limit. Like if we're getting a £5 cost per pay per view buy, that's profitable. You can just spend whatever you want. So we fully maxed out, the credit card of the business, the director's credit card. I even maxed out my own credit card, just spending as much as physically possible. And the results were great there. That we then got the next one, and then the next one, and after I think the fourth boxing event, we got the opportunity to throw our hat in the ring, no pun intended, for the Floyd Mayweather versus Deji fight, which was in Dubai. So I just put a proposal together, had all those results. I was like, we're probably spending the most in influencer boxing because there's like probably not anyone else really doing it, and we know this world. So we did that. We coded it up, and we ended up striking a deal where they would fly us over our team to do a lot of content over there and to run the ads. So we were on that money team Mayweather account, just running pay per view ads, running Spark ads against all those big celebrity names, and it was class. It was really, really successful, and that's where I met Tommy out there. So that kind of branches off into a whole new world where we started getting to do a bit more stuff with Tommy. We did some small things like small
That's
little value ads, right?
Tommy Fury you're
Tommy,
referring to there. Yeah.
apologies, Tommy Fury.
Yeah.
See, we're first name basis now, bros. We we did small things like he didn't have a TikTok, and I said, why would you not have a TikTok? Because you're like a major celebrity. So being out there shooting content for him, I just created some TikTok videos and we got that set up and got them live when we were out there. Instantly, he went to like 400K followers, and little small things like that. That's like little value ads that you can just do, and it opens more and more doors. And the story just goes, it grows, and there's branches that branch off from that moment in many many directions. But it definitely opened the door for more projects, and it's a case study that then we can use, and people will vouch for it.
What are these guys like to work with? Like Tyson Fury,
Mm.
Tommy Fury, Floyd Mayweather, Harry Kane. We're not dealing with the average Joe Soap here. These are people at the upper echelons of their game, of their craft, of their profession, already very, very influential and famous people. Like from a creative standpoint, when you're trying to, script sometimes pretty mad concepts and ideas, how receptive to them are they, and what are they like as people to deal with?
Tyson's amazing. Tyson's like, he's
I would say
just
so.
wild. He's just wild. Like, I wasn't a huge boxing fan. I obviously knew, uh, he was top of the game, and I was familiar with his record, but I didn't know him as a person. And then I was kind of thrown in the deep end, shooting with him in Blackpool, and we had, maybe 3 hours. And we had all of our concepts written, all of our lines, and I basically have like an iPad, and I would say it to the talent, in this case to Tyson, and he would repeat it back to me. And the guys have like 3 camera setups. We're just giving him props, do this, do that, like directing him through it. But the minute Tyson walked into that room, he was just like 110% energy, took over the shoot completely, did everything like extra. We had to have him break a cup. He smashed the cup, threw it in the floor. He's hitting jabs, he's doing all this and that, and he's brilliant. He's class because he's built for it. He's a showman at the end of the day.
Brilliant.
And then that there probably was the catalyst. That shoot was so well, that went so well. It helped really grow that protein brand online. But what it did for us was get us access to Tyson. He's comfortable with us. So me and Jack, Hannah, we got invited out to Thailand then to travel with him and do a tour of Thailand, where we're
Wow.
basically with these guys, him, Big John Fury, their whole team. And again, you're getting really close, and they're just doing what they do, which is eat, train, sleep, go watch a Thai box fight. And by just being there, like if let's say you're like a fly on the wall, just turning on your camera, the content is exceptional because those guys, by nature of who they are, just do fun shit. We went to this crazy circus thing. It was like a fight circus where you have like 3v1. You have like 2 guys tied together, like fighting one other guy. Like this mad as shit. Tyson's going crazy celebrating. He jumps in the ring. He does a sing song. Like you don't have to direct him. You just don't stop recording him, and you're going to get great stuff. And it was a class journey. I'm really appreciative that we actually got to go on that journey and tell those stories, and we have it all vlogged out as well. So we'll drop a few of them vlogs in the coming days, probably coming months actually, because he's got a fight coming up, doesn't he, in December?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Was he, so you kind of mentioned he was the catalyst to springboard, I suppose, you guys into this kind of sports sphere. Um, was that your first kind of big deal, or really kind of, I suppose, well-known person that you've been working with of that caliber, I suppose?
Um, you see, like the chronological order, I can never remember who
Who
when it
came when?
was because they're all just like micro stories. I think Harry Kane was the best, or sorry, the first and probably the best. Harry Kane came from Stat Sports. You're obviously local to
Yeah.
us. Stat Sports were doing exceptionally well, but they hadn't even looked at UGC, and I'd been kind of harping on about it. I've been just, I was friendly with their head of ecom at the time, and I was talking about it. I was like, it's working here, just give us a shot. And they gave us a shot down in Dublin with under 19 Drogheda team, I think it was, or someone local. And the test performed really, really well against, their high quality stuff. So us going down with our phones, shooting UGC, getting them to do these like one-liners that we can then multiply out into loads of videos. They saw that live working, and that's when they gave us access then to Harry Kane. And when you work with someone like Harry Kane, it's like a military operation. So we had 22 minutes to do what we needed to do. That was it.
22.
So 22, right? Directly 22, not 23. It was one of them ones. And so we had our team over. We knew exactly what was going on, like fully drilled. What's he going to say? What's he going to do? Where's he going to stand? Where does he move to? Because once we were done with our UGC, they had to do an interview with him, and they had to do, some shots with him. And, he's getting managed by a manager where the manager's saying, like, you're only allowed to hit this ball like 50%. And when he kicks the ball and it's 60%, the managers go, oh, slow down. No, that's too hard.
Really?
It's that detail. Really, really, really. So it's that
Wow.
detail. So we're in the middle of doing that. And halfway through the shoot, the manager pops in the middle. Like I'm directing Harry at this time. I'm feeding him lines to like repeat back to me. And the manager cuts in. He goes, "Oh, he's wearing a Nike vest. You can't wear that vest because we haven't closed the Nike deal, right? Whatever." So I just panic. I freeze. Like, what's happening? We're eating into minutes. We don't have time for this. What do we do? And then I look at the stat sports guys. Like, get the vest off. Get the vest off. So we get the vest off, and we just have to jump straight back in to this shoot. But we've now lost the first, 6 to 7 clips where for continuity purposes,
Of
he
course.
doesn't have it on, and then or he does have it on, and then he doesn't have it on. So that was extremely. It was tough. It was a big pressure situation because you're excited, your adrenaline's here, and then you get thrown off. You're like, oh my god, what did I do? But that's what happens when you're working with those calibers of people. You have a specific amount of time. There's contract, you know, situations going on in the background that are nothing to do with you. There's situations that happen that are nothing to do with you, and you have to try and work through it. But in the end, we did a really good job. We ended up creating fantastic content that went on to, and I can quote that, we 4x the results of um, their brand style team with our UGC, and
Wow.
we were considerably cheaper as well. I can tell you that.
Nice, nice, nice. How much more important have creatives become in the last few years and why?
They're extremely important. I think they're the most important. But then you asking me, I would say like they're as important as they were. Just more people are talking about it. Because
For
like when was it not? When was the ad not important? Everyone got so hung up on the distribution of the ad, but it's always been the ad. Like as I grew up in marketing, I grew up with social as it started. Um, and I read like Ogilvy, and I got in learning about the magazine ads that were famous, and that was a magazine, but it was still the ad. And if it was a billboard, it's still the ad. But nowadays, people are like, "Oh, but you put it on social and use these placements and use this targeting approach." But it's still the ad. The ad has to be good. It has to grab the attention of the person that you want to be noticing you. It has to educate that person in some way, show them what the product is, make sure that they understand it and realize that they need it. And, in direct response, you then want to present some kind of offer, which is going to allow them to make a purchase or click with buying intent. So it was like, when was that not important? I think the moment it wasn't important was in COVID when you can put any graphic up and ecom was booming at the time and anything was selling, and maybe the competition wasn't as hot as it is now. CPMs weren't as high as they are now, and and for some reason, like marketing and quality wasn't the most important thing.
I think you
So
just touched on the second point I was going to bring up there. I think during COVID, when CAC was so low for every brand, I think a lot of marketers lost the marketing component of what marketing actually was. And as to your point, anything was selling online as long as the creative was remotely okay. It was working. It was working. But I think as customer acquisition costs have continued to really really rise for brands, they're going back to first principles. The ads need to grab people's attention. Back to first principles, marketing 101. And I think that probably was lost for a couple of years there in the hype phase of COVID, to your point.
yeah, it definitely was. And you know what else it did? It opened up this door where, like, I at one point I was a young marketer, right? But it opened up this door where everyone had access to the exact same tools. Everyone had access to the business manager. Therefore, everyone could run an ad physically. And there was this rise of agencies and young guys that wanted to hustle, like Iman Gadzi, whatever. And I back those people like 100%. But you can't just open an ad account and then spend somebody else's money without realizing some of the fundamentals like marketing. Like you could be a class tech guy, some young hustle kid with a great mentality of he wants to go and get it done, but doesn't understand marketing, yet will still go and pitch his services to some brand. And that's what happened. And it was a problem because then you've heard this phrase like, "Oh, I've been burned before." Like when we were trying to sign clients, people were like, "I've been burned before by agencies." Of course, you've been burned before because you got burned by some kid who opened an ad account and is trying to spend your money with zero risk. Because if he fucks it up, It's not his money, right? And it's not even his reputation because he's just some guy with some name. And that happened. And, coming out of COVID, that's what all the other agencies in my sort of network, we all kind of navigated through that. How do we reposition ourselves to be like legitimate brand owners and business owners? And then it's happening again, but this time in content. So anybody in the whole world that has a phone is a content creator, right? Anybody who has access to Canva is now a static ad designer. And the problem with that is the demand, like there's only a certain amount of demand, but there's a complete saturation of supply. Like you go onto Twitter right now, you ask for a UGC creator, you're going to get 100 replies. You ask for an editor, you're going to get all around Latin America, Asia, wherever, Eastern Europe, you're going to get hundreds of people replying, I can edit, I can edit, I can edit. And of course you can now because there's no barrier to entry on the creative side. So in a world where now everyone realizes creative is important, it's who can I lean on to actually get the job done like accurately and correctly in the right way. So our battle now is actually trying to educate people on what it is that you really need and how it works with like psychology and buying and marketing, rather than you can just stick up a photo, like a nicely edited product photo like you used to be able to do. So that's like the current battle. So that, to answer your question, like there's a really long way of going about it. Like this is a discussion, but that's how it's changed. Like that is the cycle we're in. And we're always in these sort of cycles of like the market maturing to what is needed. And then ticking that box. And then the next thing, the market maturing to what is needed, which in my opinion is now finance. I think more of the businesses are realizing, okay, ads, we sorted that ages ago. We know we need to advertise. Okay, now the creative needs to be good. We're sorting that right now. The next thing we need to figure out is the bottom line finances behind all of this,
100%. I think to your point, the barrier to entry has lowered for everything in the industry, not just from like anybody can call themselves an agency, whether it's paid media, email, creative, because the tools are so readily available today. I also say the same as the barrier has been lowered to entry for e-commerce. Like Shopify's done an incredible job. Like if you can work an iPhone, you can create a Shopify store very, very quickly. That wasn't the case 15 years ago. You needed to be some kind of programmer or outsource it to a really expensive agency to get a website on board, which meant that, you really had your probably sums done around understanding if the business is going to be viable. So I think a lot of brands are coming on board today for the first time because Shopify is so easy to get set up and running. But like, but I think what a lot of people don't realize is that the website and the product are one piece. The distribution and the finances underneath that are a completely different animal altogether, I suppose. But yeah, I think it's the same principles kind of apply in the agency space. In terms of, I suppose, top predictions for, I suppose, different types of creative content, particularly coming into, peak season now, Black Friday, Cyber Monday, have you seen any kind of trends popping up this year, or how has it changed maybe from this time last year?
I think it does. It cycles as well. I think right now the UGC is going back to like more raw. Whereas before it started really raw at the very beginning because it was genuine, authentic UGC, user generated content. And then over time to differentiate, it just started to get slightly more finessed, and it was better produced UGC. There was more B-roll, better lighting, more thought out. And that was still really, really successful, but now that's a wee bit saturated, especially with all the new creators entering the market. I actually see, for example, we have one video which is 2 minutes of a guy just yapping about this product, and it's the best performer. It's taken so much spend in the account right now, but we like 80-20, we just tested that and it ended up being a winner. I think that it's not a blanket rule either. It'll be different for every account in every market and every product, but there is a going back to raw is really powerful. Less edited, it looks more like someone just jumping on a TikTok, get ready with me whilst I talk about this thing, especially in beauty, cosmetics, supplements. So that's one I see. The other sort of trend that I see that we did last year, and we were early to it, and we had some really great successes. And then we kind of took our foot off the pedal. I don't know why. I guess we were just busy, but it's that podcast generated content. Seeing that perform really well. The example that I see with my own eyes is we had a client last year who we did this the end of last summer, and they set those ads live for Q4, and they weren't offer specific. It was just, this is the product. and they were talking about it in detail. And that ad is still the best performer to this day. Um, and we just did a batch of PGC for them. Like they didn't come on as a recurring client. They actually had another creative agency, and now they've come back again. They're like they've signed on with us on our full program because like we've had this other creative agency, but not one of those ads that they produce has beaten what you made last year with the podcast. And I'm seeing it across
Well,
other accounts and my friends as well. That podcast content is getting extremely high hook rates. I guess maybe because it could be anything. Like people are maybe interested to just hear what it is that that is being spoken about. But for the people that if it finds the right audience and they're paying attention and they're interested, it's a good way to educate. And you've got a minute there to then direct them to the website. And yeah, it just seems to be doing really, really well. So I think that's going to come back big, and we've invested into that as well.
what are
Just
some of the
recently,
biggest challenges that some of the brands that come to Lifelike have prior to engaging with you from a creative standpoint?
the biggest one is that they don't have it. They don't have the knowledge. They don't have the time. So what you'll find is, okay, I saw this tweet and apparently creative is like really important. I really need to get creative. Um, Most people have either done nothing about it, they've just used like product images that they had last year with some text on it, or they've engaged. If the ones that have engaged have maybe engaged with a creator and they're like, I got this UGC video done, but it's not enough. They're not testing. They've maybe just gone for a couple of creators, sent them their product, and they've just ran those ads. So they've realized that you can't just put a video into the account and it'll work. You have to have some kind of testing, some kind of variables to test. So that's a big challenge. Like the knowledge, they don't know that they need it. They don't know that they need variation in the ad account. They don't know that they need graphics that like their GIFs and their statics. They don't know that they need UGC and maybe some brand style stuff in there, especially to separate themselves from other brands if it's a competitive industry.
So it
So
sounds like
that's one.
they're
And then
lacking kind of the iterative process and the framework behind actually creating the content itself. I think a lot of brands can be surprised by the actual amount of content that they need to create to find one winning ad. Is that something that you guys would see quite a bit as well?
absolutely, they don't know how to do that. They don't know how to do that efficiently, cost efficiently, um, time efficiently, and in a lot of cases, they don't even know that they need to do that. They don't know that it's 20, 30, 40 pieces of content are required. And then if you told them that, it's like, well, how am I meant to do that? Because I can't just pay some creator like a couple £100 every time I need, times by 30. So yeah, it's a knowledge thing, and then it's a time thing. Like these guys are brand owners. They wear every hat. Our entire agency, we're 9 to 5, consistently doing the exact same thing, which is creative. Like we've got, if we sign up a client, there's maybe 6 or 7 people working on this one thing inside their account,
Wow.
from research, planning, ideas, copywriting. We have copywriters on the account to, production, filming, editing, creative strategy, reporting all that back, making decisions based on those reports. Like that's a full time role for like 6 people. And of course, within the agency, like, we can manage multiple clients, but you need to decide, uh, am I going to do this myself and try and make it super efficient, or am I going to just outsource this to somebody else?
Interesting, interesting. So many interesting points there, and it's definitely something we see with a lot of Store Hero clients as well. And that I think they often can, assume that they have creative down, but it's just somebody creating graphics, and there isn't much of a thought process or an iterative process around just the level of testing and just yeah, the work and the time that goes into that can make it hard for brands to even think about what a successful creative iterative process would even look like. So I can completely resonate with that for sure. When you're working with the brand, how do you know you've done a good job? What are you focusing on 6 months in? How can you say, look, this has been really successful, or this actually hasn't worked at all?
Macro, like we know we've done a good job if the client's happy and they're profitable,
Sure.
the revenue's increasing, and they want to come back to us. Uh, so that's the macro. Start peeling away the layers. Okay, are you able to actually spend more money profitably in your ad account? Can we reduce the CPA ultimately? I know a lot of brands will come onto a call and they'll be like, "Oh, we need a ROAS of this and we need a ROAS of that," and they really don't even know where they're getting that number from. But they've really got a ROAS target. I don't know where that's come. I think that came from just getting drilled in from the ad days.
Yeah.
But we try to set an expectation where it's like ROAS isn't something that we're going to measure our success on, but CPA will be. And then also peeling back more layers, like the creative metrics. What's the creative win rate here? Is is everything that we put out just flopping constantly? Like, are any of our concepts landing? Are we getting some people paying attention, but then realize that they're all just dropping off? Like, whenever we're really going into the deep weeds with our creative strategist and the client, we'll be measuring the first 3 seconds. That's the hook. From the hook, how many people have actually continued to watch for maybe 15 seconds? And again, like using softwares like your own and others, you can use these tools to see, to filter. Okay, these are the ads that have got the strongest hooks, but they're not performing. But here's the ones that are holding the most attention. Then maybe we'll switch those winning hooks onto the other ads, and which ones are getting good clicks. That's on the creative level. And then ultimately, if they are clicking, are they buying, or are they at least adding to cart, or are they at least browsing for some amount of time? So we look at all that data and make decisions based on that. But to know if it's winning or to know if we've done a good job, like at the end of the day, 3 months after working with us, do you want to keep working with us? Have you felt like you've got a good return on your investment? And we're very lucky that we have a lot of clients have stayed with us for many years. So I think it does work.
So, we often speak to a lot of brand owners who, I suppose one challenge that we've seen with a lot of brands is that in the past, a lot of these brands, I think, have, just to our earlier point, have maybe become a little bit lazy in terms of the actual marketing component of that. And I think they were probably allowed to be because customer acquisition costs were just so efficient on Meta for such a long time that, the creative didn't really matter as much. Now, the challenge with that is that a lot of these brands are seeing increased customer acquisition costs, some to an unsustainable level today. And the thought of now going into try and create or pay for an external creative agency to really improve this when they're already seeing struggling costs with their marketing spend is a bit of an ask for a lot of brands. They don't initially see the value because maybe they're not fully aware of how actually important it is. I'm always trying to counter it with saying, if we can really step up your creative game here, I know for a fact that your performance on Meta is going to skyrocket massively because that's the biggest bottleneck that you're having right now. It's not your website, it's not how the ads are actually targeted or anything like that, but you're using just product images. You're not testing enough, you're not doing any iterative creative processing behind it. For a brand that's, I suppose, thinking about changing up the creative game, maybe going into 2025, you obviously have more experience at this than I do, but what would you say to those brands?
Usually, what I'm saying, if I'm having like a discovery call, let's say, or a discussion, um, at that point we assume that they understand that creative is important, right? They're already at that point where they know that they need to invest in creative. Then at that point, I'm just having this discussion like, you as a brand owner, you either have to spend money or time, and I try to break down what that process really looks like. Because if you're in a position where you can spend money, and we might just break down the finances for them to make sure it's viable to work with an agency like us, then make that investment. That's a solid investment. And you can even do things like we don't try and lock people into 12-month contracts or anything like that. So you can maybe do a process which includes some shoots, some content, and some iterations of that content to show you what that looks like and to show you what an ROI might actually look like, rather than just pitching it. So I would try and do that first. But then if you are then not in a position right away to work with an agency and you can't spend that capital, you have to then spend time. And when I'm talking to a business owner about that, I'm trying to explain what those inputs look like, from, briefing to scripting to production to editing, all the way down to then reading the data and then making iterations, which is again another editing phase. So there is a lot of inputs into creative, and we do actually have, let's say like a smaller consulting service where we're helping brands navigate that with, utilizing templates that we have that can help them, with the goal of get some creative out there, start looking at test some concepts, look at those results, try and get a little bit more profitable. And then once you've grown the business, you can actually come back to us and we can take it to the next level again. So that's usually the conversation I'm having. But what people will do is they'll say, like I've tried, I hired a UGC creator before, and then I'll challenge it. I'll be like, but what were you testing? Did you just do one video? Was it a day in the life? Was it a problem solution? Are you testing headlines? It's so deep to the point where it's like we talk about this thing, the Life Force 8 from cash advertising. You might have seen it. It's what is the human desire that's going to make someone want to purchase your product? Are you referring to it at all? And then you have those conversations with brand owners, and they're like, "Do you know what? I'm not doing any of that, and that sounds like a task that's too big and too deep. I just want to get some stuff live." And then in that case, it's up to them what they want to do. If you want to compete at the highest level, especially with the point of this question being like it's getting more expensive, you have to be ticking those boxes. If you're just throwing things out there, kind of willy nilly, it's going to be very, very difficult. You're going to have to get lucky to survive. Um, but yeah, I hope that answers your question. It's basically that's the conversation I'm having. Are you in a position to spend capital? In which case, this is an area you should be investing. If you're not in that position, then okay, let's sort out your internal systems. Can you at least afford a freelancer to help you go and round up some creators? Can you at least afford an editor from Latin America, Eastern European, someone like that to help you a little bit cheaper, who are still extremely talented? And then we can build a roadmap from there, really.
Nice, nice, nice. Sounds good. No, the kind of consulting piece to get people to a point where they can actually realize the value and then kind of get people into the funnel, I suppose, to offer the full service sounds like a really, really smart play. I know a lot of our customers are already working with you through that, and I've seen some fantastic results as well. So, I've no doubt every branch should kind of check that out. We'll obviously leave some links in the show notes below here, but we'll move on to kind of a new thing we're going to do here, kind of quick fire round, Paul. That was all fantastic, by the way. If you had to start a DTC brand in the morning, what would it be?
I would start something in like the outdoor game space. I have this theory. It's more like um, it's more like the trend towards like people spending time together in real life rather than online. I would do something that brings people together, like playful, ideally outdoors. Yeah, I actually do have an idea, but I'm not gonna give it away just yet.
We'll have
But
you
it's
on
in
when that
that
one launches in a few years.
it's in that trend. A few years, bro. We got the creative already. We just haven't launched it.
Well, we'll see. Maybe a few weeks in that case. Um, any good books or podcast recommendations for any of our listeners?
Yeah, I like books a lot. So I have a bunch, but I guess if this is quickfire, it kind of depends on where you are. What I'm reading right now is Power of Neuroplasticity, the brain,
Interesting.
rewiring the brain, things like that. It's extremely interesting because it paves the way from like, like the woo woo of, believe and achieve, like affirmations. It fills that gap to actual tangible science, how it works, which really helps strengthen beliefs. If you're into like law of attraction and you're into affirmations, this helps strengthen your own belief in that because you're like, oh, well, that's how it works. It's called The Power of Neuroplasticity. It's really, really good.
I think I've
It's
heard of
quite
it actually,
niche.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But yeah, I read a lot of books. Here, do you want me to tell you one that's just so great that I read that's nothing to do with
Absolutely.
like personal development or ecom or anything? Endurance, the Ernest Shackelford story. The guys, it's basically all the diary entries of the guys who went and did the Antarctica mission, and it's fucking crazy. You think you get it tough? You think you're in the trenches here? Go read that. You'll end up doing a marathon and a high rocks and launching 5 brands at the same time. It's
I
inspiring.
actually read Tom Crean's book about going to Antarctica as well, so similar, I'm sure. But
I think
yeah,
he's referenced in it as well. Was he like
absolutely.
on board? Maybe. I think he
Yeah, I
was.
think so. Chaos, mad,
Madness.
mad. Like just so unknown. A venture into the complete darkness, unknown, freezing cold.
And
Yeah,
I'm not spoiling it, but they went back years later, like not them guys, but like mountaineers, and went to try and navigate just one section of what they had to do to survive, and they couldn't even do it, even with all the advanced technology. So it just shows you, like, when you burn your boats, literally, like, you can achieve anything. Mad.
um, let's just say hypothetically, Life Life's closed tomorrow morning. You can name one person, dead or alive, that you'd love to work for.
Um, okay, random. There's a guy called Travis Pastrana. You might know him, probably not.
No.
He used to do MX and Rally, the Nitro Circus guy.
Oh yeah,
So
yeah.
I would probably just go and work for his crew as content creator, just making mad videos out in nature. That would be pretty insane.
Nice. And last one there is a kind of top prediction for 2025.
Prediction: I think the podcast stuff's going to get big again. Like it, I think the industry dipped its toe, but I think it's going to be huge. Uh, Other top predictions: ads are going to get more expensive. TikTok Shop's going to blow up again. Like I think it's more accessible. So TikTok Shop, something we're looking into as well. And yeah, World War III, bro. It's coming.
I'm hoping for the first three, maybe not the fourth, but yeah, we'll see. TikTok Shop does seem
No.
to be blowing up quite a bit. Hopefully that'll be all the blowing up done, but um,
Yes, you're right.
100%. Listen, Paul, listen, really, really enjoyed the chat. Thanks so much for coming on. Honestly, that was a really, really interesting chat. If people are looking to get in contact with you, where can they find you?
Yeah, so on Instagram, at Lifelike Media is our agency. We post a lot there, behind the scenes and some value stuff. My own personal is paul.belfast. Um, that's probably the two main places. Our website is lifelike.media if you want to learn a little bit more there, see case studies and stuff. And then we've also got a YouTube that we recently relaunched. So the story about Harry Kane, it's all in there. You know, we
Cross.
interviewed Pablo Escobar's brother in Colombia. It's all on there. There's some really, really interesting stuff on there that I want to try and direct people to. And the Fury stuff's going on there now as well. So, yeah, that's my
Yeah,
plugs.
I'm going to check that out myself after this. So really looking forward to getting into it. Listen, Paul, thank you so, so much for coming on. Really, really enjoyed that chat and really looking forward to getting this one out.
Likewise, mate. I really appreciate you having me on.
Thanks very much.